Previously on the Originals, Haley sacrificed herself to save Klaus and Hope. Elijah regained his memories, leaving him overwhelmed with guilt and despair. Declan had just returned from his hometown when he learned that his girlfriend had tragically died. It wasn't until after her body had been cremated that someone thought to notify him with a text. Elijah took the initiative to find Declan. The two grieving men decided to open up to each other, drowning their sorrows in alcohol and sharing the pain of losing their loved ones. Declan brought out a family heirloom and engagement ring. He had originally planned a surprise proposal for Haley, but with a bitter smile, he admitted that even if Haley were still alive, she probably would have rejected him because she hadn't gotten over her ex. Little did Declan know that the ex Haley couldn't forget was sitting right in front of him, listening to his lament with a face full of sorrow.
You're him, aren't you? The one that broke her heart.
Elijah could only lower his head in silence. Hope had absorbed all of the Hollow's magic on her own, and now she was suffering from unbearable headaches. Klaus handed Hope a bracelet designed to suppress the magic. Hope didn't want to wear it at first, but she couldn't stand her father's nagging, so she silently let him put the bracelet on her. The discomfort did ease significantly. Hope gave her father a quick kiss on the cheek before turning to leave, but as soon as she descended the stairs, the bracelet grew unbearably hot, burning her wrist red. She tried to alleviate the pain with herbs, but it only got worse. Hope had no choice but to remove the bracelet and toss it aside, but the discomfort in her head returned, growing increasingly unbearable. Declan and Elijah were still drowning their sorrows. Declan was still unaware of the truth behind Haley's death. Hope rushed to the bar to find Declan for help, only to stumble upon Elijah. Furious, she accused Elijah of killing her mother. The conflict between Hope and Elijah escalated quickly. Hope was forced to knock Declan unconscious. Elijah tried to explain that his pain was no less than Hope's, but Hope's eyes turned blue with rage, and she began venting her fury on Elijah, inflicting wound after wound on him. Hope discovered that violence brought her a strange sense of calm. Declan had regained consciousness. Klaus arrived just in time to stop his daughter. After venting her anger, Hope felt a pang of guilt and quickly fled the scene. Declan, who had witnessed everything, desperately needed an explanation. Elijah had no choice but to tell him the whole story from beginning to end. As a human, Declan found it nearly impossible to accept, but Elijah quickly compelled Declan to forget everything that had happened today. He told Declan that Haley had found peace in the afterlife and that he should only remember the happy times they shared. Marcel drove Greta's followers out of New Orleans, but rebellious forces were still lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike. Amidst the festive atmosphere, a vampire compelled a human carrying a briefcase to approach Lysina. The briefcase suddenly exploded, and after the towering flames subsided, Keelan was left gravely injured. Freya frantically called out Keelan's name. Fortunately, Keelan was not seriously harmed, but Lysina was already dead. Vincent anxiously searched the crowd for Ivy, and when he found her, he held her tightly in his arms. The suicide bombing resulted in the deaths of 3 innocent people, which left Vincent furious. Ivy would go to the witches' cemetery to pray for the dead. Meanwhile, Vincent joined a protest march, passionately urging everyone to protect their city, but a countermovement within the vampires also mobilized and took to the streets. Witches and werewolves alike raised their weapons. The leader of the vampires, Emmett, tried to persuade Vincent to join his side, but Vincent was never one to be controlled. He reached out, chanting a spell, and in an instant, the vampires vanished in a burst of flames. It was merely a large-scale soul projection spell. Emmett warned Vincent that he would pay for his choice, then vanished with a smile. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, in the witches' cemetery, Ivy and the other witches were holding a ritual for the dead, raising their glasses in a toast to honor them, but the liquid in their cups had already been poisoned. Vincent hurried over, only to arrive in time to hold the dying Ivy in his arms. Still shaken from nearly losing Keelan, Freya was filled with lingering fear. Freya said that she had prepared an engagement ring 2 years ago but had never found the right moment to propose. It was only now that she realized seizing the moment was the key to finding happiness. Keelan didn't hesitate to accept Freya's proposal. Freya gently slipped the ring onto her lover's finger. Their love had finally found its happy ending. Love can be quite simple. It only takes a random glance in a crowd, a courageous first move, and a humorous pickup line. But love can also be incredibly hard. Josh only needed one reason to reject a boy with a warm smile. The boy looked just like his long-dead ex-boyfriend. The boy got up and left Josh. Josh is left alone to dwell on his last relationship, but Marcel's voicemail interrupts his memories. Marcel had found the enemy's stronghold on his own and didn't take these rookies seriously at all, but Marcel clearly forgot that they had a witch on their side. and soon he was defeated. When Marcel woke up again, he was already strapped into a mask. Emmett planned to extract the venom from Marcel's body that could kill the Originals, coldly stating that no one was likely to come to his rescue. Then Emmett, without any expression, activated the venom extraction device, and pain quickly surged through Marcel. The venom dripped steadily into a test tube. Emmett remarked that his witch claimed this venom could even kill Hope, and he couldn't wait to test it out. As time passed and Marcel didn't return, Josh secretly made his way to the enemy's lair. Josh quickly spotted Marcel, who was being used as a venom-producing machine, but an invisible magical barrier stopped him in his tracks. The enemies soon appeared behind Josh as well. Josh swiftly took out the witch. With the magic's hold gone, Marcel quickly broke free from his restraints. Josh rushed to help, unlocking the chains binding Marcel, but the enemies had been alerted and soon surrounded the two of them. Marcel was fearless, but Josh nervously swallowed hard. The two quickly engaged in battle. Marcel was incredibly strong, taking down enemies one by one with ease, but Josh's attacks were much weaker in comparison. By the time Marcel had finished off his foes, an enemy had Josh by the throat. Marcel hurried over to help, but it was too late. A thick syringe had already plunged into Josh's body. Marcel frantically laid Josh down on the stairs, assuring him that he would find a way to get the antidote, but Josh said the venom had already reached his heart. Despite Marcel's deep reluctance, it was clear that Josh's life was coming to an end.
You are my family. Sing.
Josh's face gradually lost its color. In a bright and radiant forest, a car stopped in front of Josh. Josh curiously looked into the car and saw his long-lost lover smiling warmly at him, perhaps with his lover by his side. The journey to the afterlife wouldn't be so lonely.
God, I missed you.
Josh could no longer hold back his longing and kissed Aiden deeply on the lips. The car slowly drove away, and the reunited lovers left this beautiful world forever. Upon discovering his daughter's violent tendencies, Klaus was absolutely thrilled. He immediately captured Roman, who had once hurt his daughter, and handed him over to Hope for her to torment. Almost eager to stand by and offer guidance, but Hope said she needed to be alone with Roman for a while. Klaus could only threaten Roman briefly before leaving, happily. Roman's disappearance left Antoinette at a loss. She had no choice but to approach Elijah, hoping he could persuade Klaus to spare her brother. She and Roman were merely pawns in their mother's scheme against the Michelson family. Elijah agreed. Under the influence of the Hollow's magic, the anger within Hope was amplified beyond control. She despised Roman for betraying her trust, but when she hurt Roman, she was much gentler than when she hurt Elijah. Roman sincerely apologized to Hope, explaining that he had a chance to go to France with his sister, but stayed behind for Hope. Listening to Roman's pleas and confessions, Hope's heart softened once more. Hope repeatedly spoke about her mother's love for her, rather than venting. It felt more like she was confiding in Roman, but Roman was shocked to notice that the veins on Hope's arms were slowly turning black. Elijah confronted Klaus, criticizing him for encouraging Hope's dark side, claiming that it would only turn her into another Klaus. But Klaus argued that Roman had indeed hurt his daughter and must pay for his actions. Elijah, disappointed, remarked that he had spent 1,000 years trying to make Klaus a better person. Klaus retorted that he had spent 1,000 years trusting Elijah unconditionally.
So now what? Our lives may be forever, but our allegiance is not.
For the first time, a rift formed between the brothers. Hope showed her father her darkening veins, which deeply worried Klaus. When Hope mentioned that she hadn't punished Roman, Klaus realized that only violence could alleviate his daughter's symptoms. Elijah walked in, interrupting their conversation. He already had a good idea. Antoinette gathered all of her mother's former followers, announcing that Roman had been captured by the Michelson family, and she needed help organizing a rescue mission. But Emmett seized the opportunity to present Marcel's venom, suggesting they could wipe out the entire Michelson family. Elijah also appeared among the crowd, concealing the fact that his memories had returned, and teamed up with Antoinette. The enemies suspected nothing. Little did they know, the Michelson family had already devised a nearly flawless plan. Hope was the first to smash the vial containing Marcel's venom.
You betrayed us.
We told you what my mother thought.
And we never said we agreed.
You leave them to us now.
Antoinette and Elijah quickly made their escape. Hope was filled with rage as she faced the accomplices who had killed her mother. Blue light surged from her body, instantly wiping out all the enemies before her. Her eyes returned to their normal color. Hope seemed a bit remorseful. Klaus comforted her, saying that killing bad people is, at most, a public service. After all, they weren't really alive in the strictest sense. Klaus instructed Marcel and Josh to organize a few vampires to clean up the scene, but Marcel was silent. He couldn't bring himself to tell Klaus that Josh was dead. He simply turned and walked away. However, the sound of moaning from the attic caught the attention of both Klaus and Hope. Declan, caught in the wave of magic released by Hope, was now on the brink of death. He was a relative of Camille and Father Kieran, the latter of whom had died in this very attic. Klaus fed Declan his blood, barely saving Declan's life. But with one sentence, Declan made Klaus's expression change instantly.
Where's Bill?
Klaus frantically searched the attic and quickly found an old man crushed under a cabinet. He was already dead. Hope had killed an innocent human, triggering the werewolf curse in her blood. In a single day, both Josh and Ivy had died, and Hope had triggered the werewolf curse. The unpredictability of fate left Keelan overwhelmed with emotion. Seeing Freya immersed in grief, Keelan decided to do something to cheer up her girlfriend.
Do it, let's get married.
Yeah, that's the plan.
No, let's get married today.
Keelan's sudden proposal surprised Freya, but she agreed without hesitation. Elijah was sorting through old family belongings when he unexpectedly found a letter Haley had written to him. The letter had never been sent, but it was written 5 years ago. Freya interrupted Elijah's journey down memory lane, eager to share her joy. Rebecca was the maid of honor. Vincent was the best man. Cole had applied for a minister's license overnight, and Klaus was the wedding security. Freya invited Elijah to walk her down the aisle, but Elijah, consumed by sadness and regret, had no desire to attend a romantic wedding. He tearfully declined Freya's invitation. Vincent also declined the invitation to be the best man. Since the death of his wife, Eva, he had lived alone for years. He had finally opened his heart to Ivy, only for her to die as a result of the vampires' schemes against the Michelson family. Vincent felt a deep sense of helplessness, and he had long decided to leave New Orleans for good. After years of fighting side by side, Freya considered Vincent a close friend. Freya couldn't stop her friend from choosing a new life, so she silently gave Vincent her blessing. Klaus was visiting his daughter in the cemetery. Hope was filled with guilt over accidentally killing the innocent old man, and Klaus couldn't find a way to comfort her. But then, the veins in Hope's arm turned black again, and Klaus was horrified to see that the toxin had spread to Hope's neck and head. Klaus had no choice but to leave in a hurry. Cole and his wife had just returned to New Orleans. Klaus didn't have time for pleasantries. He urgently asked for Davina's help. Describing Hope's symptoms, the poison veins had spread all over Hope's arm, and he begged Davina to use magic to find a solution. Davina quickly found Hope in the cemetery, where she was sobbing uncontrollably over the death of the stranger. Davina gently comforted Hope, urging her to pull herself together and attend her aunt's wedding. Hope obediently wiped away her tears and turned to leave. Davina then took out a glass vial and began chanting a spell over the tears that had fallen on the rose petals. The tears lifted on their own, one by one, and dropped into the vial. Davina planned to use Hope's tears as a medium to search through Esther's spellbook for a cure. Davina silently recited a spell, but nothing happened. Cole didn't quite understand. Davina tried chanting the spell again, but this time, Esther's spellbook burst into flames and quickly turned to ashes. This ominous sign shocked Davina. Klaus was inspecting the wedding venue when Rebecca found him early to relay what Davina had discovered through her magic. Davina revealed that dark magic was devouring Hope's life. Klaus asked how much time his daughter had left.
Weeks. Days. Maybe hours.
The answer caught him completely off guard.